Hi, this is Heidi Serwer, and you're listening to the Chicago Singer-Songwriter Podcast.
Hey, this is Chris Dever, and I'm here in Lincoln Square in Heidi Serwer's music room. Heidi, how are you tonight?
Oh, I'm great, Chris.
Excellent. Thanks for inviting me over to your place, into your home, into your music sanctuary, as it were. It's so cool when people have like a room dedicated to their hobbies.
Well, thanks. It's fun. It's really, I feel grateful to have this room, although I do share it with my two not so little ones anymore.
Which I had the pleasure of meeting when I came in. Very polite children, first off.
Oh, thanks.
But also very proud of their mom. I mean, the first thing that your son said was, mom's going to be a big star and she's such a great musician. And, it's just like, it warmed my heart.
He's my biggest fan. He's very sweet and really into the music that I do. And it's, he's getting older and it doesn't embarrass him yet. So I think I have to write crazier stuff maybe. But he actually helped me figure out what songs I might want to play for this podcast tonight. And he said, gosh, I'm so happy that you decided to listen to my suggestions.
Aw, that's really sweet. And they're musicians as well.
They are. My son has played piano for years now. He's almost 13 and he started when he was 7. And my daughter's 9 and she's been playing for 2 years now too. So they both play piano. My daughter plays ukulele.
Did you push them into music or was that something they wanted to get into on their own?
Well, my son was really strong in math and we've read about the math-music connection and thought it might be interesting just to see what happens if we put him in front of a piano. And he kind of had a knack for it and really enjoyed it and, really enjoyed the songs that we would play. So I think he and I kind of encourage one another, but it didn't really take much to push him into it at all. My daughter, I think she could take it or leave it, but I think it's good for everyone at least to have spent a little bit of time on an instrument. So she enjoys it. She's not as obsessed as my son is, or passionate, I'll call it.
And before we came down to record the interview, you sent them outside to play basketball. Now we're in Chicago, and your kids are outside unsupervised.
Yeah, I know.
Are you more of a laid back mom where you kind of let them do their own thing?
I always thought I would be that kind of mom. I surprised myself by how much I wasn't. And I'm using past tense because my kids are getting older now. And, my son, at least at almost 13, is having opportunities where he's kind of out on his own. So I think it kind of helps him gain more independence to kind of test it out close to home. No, I'm not really worried. I mean, this is a great neighborhood. I think raising kids in the city, you have to kind of maybe alert them to things that you might not otherwise have alerted a younger child to, if they're in more of a quiet suburban environment. So I feel like my kids already are still pretty savvy. If someone's walking through the alley that they, gives them a weird vibe, they'll come in. So it took a little while to get there, but my husband and I both are starting to let them spread their wings a little bit more.
That's great. Does your son have a CTA card yet?
No, not yet. But he just went to D.C. for a few days for a school trip. And he said that he mastered the subway there. So I suspect wanting a CTA card is next.
Sure, yeah.
And he'll need it in a couple years for high school. So.
Absolutely. Are they going to drive in the city?
I'll certainly let them get their license, and if they want to, they can. But I find we have a lot of high school babysitters, and a lot of them wait to get their license. It's not the same as it was when I was growing up, at least in the suburbs. You couldn't wait to get your license right at 16, but maybe it's just kind of an anomaly with the few high school teenagers that I know, but they're not really that eager to get their license right away because they don't need it. Driving is a nuisance, actually.
It really is, and it's so expensive. I mean, I had the similar experience where I grew up in the suburbs, got my license like on my 16th birthday, and drove everywhere. Mm-hmm. Moved to the city and still hung on to my car. But after about 2 years, got rid of it. Just having to deal with like, what day is the street sweeper coming by? Mm-hmm. Am I going to come home from work exhausted and have to drive around the block 4 times to find a parking spot?
And then remember where you parked the next morning.
Absolutely. And the city
part.
sticker and the license renewal and everything else. It was just so much more of a nuisance than just hopping on the bus. And and being on the bus for an hour, having to go somewhere.
I work in Logan Square, and so we're a one-car family, and so once in a while, if I don't get the car to head to work, I'll take the Western bus, which is so convenient.
Yeah.
And normally I would, but I leave work a little early to pick up the kids from school, so it's more convenient if I have a car. But I will say taking public transportation does give a lot of inspiration for songs.
Yes. Yes, it does.
You never know what you're going to get on that bus. Buses especially. For some reason, there's something, my experience, more about the bus than the L. I feel like you find some interesting characters.
It's at a slower pace than like a train is. You get to observe more of what's going on outside, and you get more interesting characters on the bus too.
I agree.
How long have you been songwriting?
Let's see. I started writing maybe 2.5 years ago. So I guess relatively speaking, not that long ago and kind of later in my life.
Is that when you picked up the guitar, or had you been playing before then too?
No, I started playing guitar about 2 years before I had my son. I've always loved music and thought, you know what, I'm just going to try it. So I took my first lesson at the Old Town School and just fell in love with it. It was so fun. So I just kind of went through their core guitar program. Really enjoyed it.
How interesting that those two sort of coincided. You started creating music and then created a person.
That's true. And then when that little person came along, music went away for a while because
Sure.
I was just in a haze and too tired. And so I took a break for a couple years. And, now we live in Lincoln Square, really close to the Old Town School. And I finally figured out how to sleep a little bit more, and I signed up for a lesson and got back into it. And I played a lot of cover songs for years. And a friend of mine, actually, she started playing open mics a couple years ago, and she said, hey, you should come try open mics. So I started doing that a little bit, and then still doing cover songs. And I had another friend who basically kind of inspired me to start trying to write and create my own music.
What kind of cover songs were you playing?
I was doing a lot of Wilco cover songs. I'm a big Wilco fan. A lot of the songs were songs that I learned in class, so I wasn't quite back then at the stage where I really even thought to look up songs. I had all this great sheet music from the Old Town School. We did some Radiohead songs, and Gillian Welch was always kind of fun. Iron and Wine. I have such a varied interest in music that all sorts of stuff I did. Beatles, Sufjan Stevens.
Do you find different melodies from stuff that you were playing before shine through in your songwriting now? You play something and you're just like, oh, that totally sounds like a Wilco song, or that totally sounds like a Sufjan Stevens song.
I mean, I would ask that of the people that listen to my songs, because perhaps that's there. I feel like for me it's more of a feeling of the song, and maybe they do. I mean, some of the kind of Americana feel of Wilco music maybe inspires me a little bit. I'm not sure. I never really sat down and tried to write like a certain artist. I just feel like I'm interested in certain styles of music that then kind of inspire and motivate me creatively. Maybe I listen to a lot of Iron and Wine, and so maybe that kind of softer finger picking kind of style, appeals to me. So that's what I've tried to create a little bit myself. I'm a big fan of Laura Marling. She's a British singer-songwriter, and she's great and really interesting songs, and she does a lot of alternate tuning, so that kind of inspired me to try, well, let's see what happens if you sit down and have a guitar and an open D tuning, what kind of sounds you can create.
Well, let's listen to one of your songs. The first one you're going to play for us tonight is called Hold On To You.
It's blinding, making me confused, reminding while I stretch, trying to forget there's still work to do. So I close Well, this was one of the earlier songs that I wrote. I actually took a songwriting class at the Old Town School, and it was really fun. And we had all sorts of interesting assignments, and kind of having a structured assignment helped me to kind of, well, ironically, having structure helped me not feel so structured, because I felt like if the song didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, I could blame the assignment, or I had the assignment to kind of help give me the boost and kind of kick off creatively. So the assignment was basically for each verse to have the first line, the second line, and the fourth line have the same chord progression. The third line have a different chord progression, but yet your melody was all the same. So it was a kind of a technical assignment, basically. So no suggestions for lyrics or anything else other than that. So I was just kind of sitting around on the guitar, playing around with chord elements that seemed interesting to me. And it was just this little kind of close my eyes and hold on to you, that idea came into my head. And it's really just about kind of someone that you love or that you care about, just knowing that they're there and kind of holding on to them, and maybe not even wanting to go out and, deal with that big bad world. You just close your eyes and hold on to that person. So that's what it's about. My songs aren't always so literal. I get an idea and I kind of go with it from there.
Are you writing from personal experience, though?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I think I've got some songs that are way out there that are weird, and if I send it to my parents, my mom will say, "What are you writing about?" So all of my songs start with some element of personal experience. I was an English major in college, so I like to write. So sometimes I'll then take a story and just, go with it and get into character and make up something from there. Or there's a couple songs that are a little more kind of literal and true to an experience that I had. And I find over time it's harder to do, but I'm trying to just let go a little more and write more from what I'm feeling, and songs that are a little more real. And as a result, I feel like I'm connecting to them more when I play them live, which is kind of interesting. I mean, again, this is also new for me, so I'm evolving as I continue to play this game.
When you play live, are you doing all solo shows, or do you play with a band?
Both. So my good friend Karen is also a singer-songwriter, and actually her daughter is good friends with my daughter. That's how we met, through our children's school. But she and I play together all the time, so we've got a really nice set of covers and originals. She knows mine and I know hers, so that's really nice. We have another good friend who often plays lead guitar with us, so it's often the two of us or the three of us together. But recently we gathered a couple other parents at the school, actually, and a former coworker of mine, he plays bass, and another friend from the Old Town School, and put a band together. I don't know if it'll be a regular thing. It'd be nice if it would. And we had a show just recently. We had a really nice time, and we said, we hope we can do it again sometime. I do have some solo shows coming up. I'm playing this Monday at a kind of bar nearby. And I'm tempted to invite people to play with me, but I also feel like I learn a lot by playing by myself, because you don't have anyone else there to cover your mistakes, and you're just out there doing it. John Kuchai, who hosts Acoustic Explosion at Sylvie's, posted on Facebook that there was a cancellation and does anyone want to play. It was a couple days before, and I thought, all right, I'm going to do this. So I emailed him and was lucky enough to get a spot. But I have a bunch of songs that I wrote in February, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do as many songs from that month that I wrote as I can. And I'd never played them live before, and I didn't have any time to rehearse with anybody else, and it was just me. And some of the songs that I thought, wow, these are great, I could tell people started talking and they looked a little bored, and other songs that I wasn't so sure about, people were really into. So it was interesting to see how they responded to them.
Now in February, you weren't just inspired to write a bunch of songs, there was a structure to it.
Well, there's a website, it's falm.org, February Album Writers Month, and it's basically an online community of folks that try to write 14 songs in 28 days. So there's no rules around it. If you write 2 songs, that's great. If you don't write any, that's fine too. But a friend of mine encouraged me to do it last year, and over time I gave in and said yes, and I got to 7, which I was proud of myself, balancing part-time work and being a mom and music. And this year, Chicago Februarys are brutal, so I thought I'm going to try it again, and I got to 14. So it's a really neat thing. It's very like so much of Chicago music, but it's very collaborative. There's such great support. So I had people over in Australia and in Germany and in England. They were commenting on my music and giving me suggestions and feedback. It's all kind of real kind of positive feedback and advice on songs. And in turn, I did the same. So your profile, you're basically encouraged to post on other people's songs and music because it shows how many comments you've made, and you can earn points. And they do a really good job of motivating people to not only write their own music, but to kind of collaborate and help others too.
What was the worst comment that you got?
As we talked about, my electric guitar was in the shop for almost 2 months. I had a big gouge on top of it.
Your acoustic guitar.
I'm sorry, my acoustic guitar, you're right, was in the shop for almost 2 months. It had a big gouge on top of it. And so I played electric, and I had fun with it. I was writing very differently than I usually do. And I put all sorts of weird effects because I'm just learning GarageBand, so I made it this grungy sound. But my singing style is a little sweeter and a little softer. So I have these songs that are kind of grungy rock and electric guitar, and then my vocals on top of that. And somebody said that, the contrast is horrible, and your polite vocals next to that grungy guitar just doesn't work for you. And I appreciate that. I mean,
that's constructive, sure.
It is constructive. I kind of liked the contrast. And other people, of course, then commented after saying, no, I think it's nice, which was kind of them. Maybe the right answer is somewhere in between is probably the best route to go. Well, I feel like I'm in a fortunate spot. For me, I mean, I love playing and I love performing, but I'm also at a place in my life where I don't need to make a living off of music, so there's a lot less pressure on me. And I do find myself that type A personality in me that wants to perfect everything, but when I feel myself inching that way, I take a deep breath and I just kind of try to remind myself, okay, why am I doing this again? Oh yeah, for fun. Okay, just back down a little bit and relax. And so it's kind of trying to balance the need to, feel like you sound great with also just realizing, for me, it's a hobby and it's fun and it feels good, and that's ultimately what it's about. So any critique that I get, I think, is only to help me, and I try to learn from it.
And so with your songwriting, you started about 2.5 years ago. Mm-hmm. Your kids were used to having you not as a musician. Did they react well to that? Were they encouraging?
They did, actually. I started almost in secret because I have 2 days where I'm not in the office, so I kind of play on my own while they were at school because they're a little older, so they were even in school, full-time 2.5 years ago. And I finally got up the courage to play in front of them. We talked about it. I'm actually, for me, it's much easier to play in front of strangers than it is to play in front of people that I know and care about. My husband's heard me playing for so long, so I don't lump him into that because I play for him a lot. But, they were really supportive. I think, my son had been already playing piano for a while, so he thought it was really cool. And my daughter thought it was really nice too. So I feel like I'm lucky. They didn't feel like it took time away. In fact, the times that I did say, I'm going to go up in the bedroom and practice a little, my son Ben would say, no, I like to hear you. Come down here. Practice down here. So they thought it was neat. And actually, I'm very direct with them, and I'll say to them, because, at least every other week I'm going out one night at least to perform somewhere or to see a friend, who supported me, and I want to support them. And I've asked them, does it bother you that I go out once in a while to do this? And they've both said, no, it's something you love, and it shows us that when we get older and we have kids, we can still be great parents, but do what makes us happy and makes us feel good. It was neat to hear. It made me really happy. If I do things that keep me happy, then they're happy too, because mom's not crabby. Right.
Speaking of being there, let's take a listen to your second song, When He Was There.
She has grown older, her
remind her of when he would hold them. So much reminds her of when he was there. He often told how he met her. She, Brooklyn girl he pursued. They drove to the market on Sundays, down from the mountain where their lives grew. And she can still hear his laugh at the table. So much reminds her of when he was there. Said I'll love you forever. She knew no wish could come true, or he'd still hold her hand by the ocean, brushing the hair from her eyes blue. And she can still feel his breath on her shoulder. So much reminds her when he was there. La, 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 la. La, 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 la. La, 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 la. So much reminds her when he was there.
This one's about a couple.
It is.
Is it a real couple?
It is. It's about my grandmother. I was very close with her. She's now passed away, but my grandparents, both of them. So this is a song where it's almost entirely based on truth.
In the first two songs, and then the one we're going to hear a little later, there's an instrumental break in the song that you sing over. When you're playing that, do you hear other instrumentation, or is the goal for you to sing?
Yes and yes. So with Hold On To You, I actually, when I wrote that song, I wrote the instrumental over which I was singing as whistling. And I whistled it, and I whistled it for songwriting class. I performed it for the class. And I got so nervous, and my lips were shaking, and I couldn't get the whistle out. So I thought, oh man, I gotta give up on this. But actually, this is one of the songs that's on my EP that I released in December. My good friend Joe plays lead guitar, so he plays that over the song. So I don't normally sing it. I've just kind of started doing that recently because I want to be able to play the song live, and I wrote that instrumental, and it's what I hear in my head. So it's a little high for me vocally, but I just decided that I would probably be better doing that than whistling and flubbing it. I'm no Andrew Bird. Oh, and then I'm sorry, for the other one, When He Was There, that I wrote the La La Las, and both of those songs are on my EP, so I do hear more over because that's how I recorded it. But when I wrote them exactly as you hear. So what I sang, I also heard in my head and intended when I wrote the songs.
Your EP, it's called Stranger. Is that the first recording that you did?
First official live in a studio, yes, yeah.
Or where did you record it at?
At King Size Sound Labs, my friend John Abbey, who's a teacher at the Old Town School, that's his studio. And I always knew that someday when I got up the courage to officially record that I'd want to record there, because he's just really got a great ear and kind of knows the sound that I would want to get out of my songs. And yeah, it was a great experience. It was so much fun. I mean, I now can picture the folks that I recorded with were amazing, and every song that I listen to now on that EP, if I listen to them, or even when I play them, I just have this snapshot now of that day that we recorded.
And was it all done in one day?
Well, there are 5 songs on the EP, and I wanted it to all be recorded live, so we all did them live in one big room, all 5 songs in one day. And then I went back and re-recorded my vocals and guitar because I couldn't hear myself as well with the drums and all the other sound. But yeah, I mean, it didn't take that long. It was a labor of love, but I also, again, keeping it fun, I didn't want to obsess too much, because I feel like once you kind of go down that path, it's really hard to turn back. And I knew it was in good hands with John, so, we tweaked a little here and there, and we were done.
And you're happy with it ultimately?
Oh, I love it. I'm so happy. I'm so proud of it. It's I have a lot sitting there under the table. So I give them out or sell them at open mics. I guess I hadn't quite thought through the business aspect of it. You record an EP and then what? But it's not really about that. For me, it was just about the journey creating it. Made a lot of great friends doing it, and just had so much fun. My family and I went to Kauai last December, just for a family vacation, and I joked with my husband that I was going to bring a bunch of CDs and just drop them all over the island, and that 30 years from now I'd be the Rodriguez of Kauai. That's my goal. So we are going to go back next December. I didn't do it last year, but maybe next year I'll do it. So
and
maybe
just litter your CDs all over the beach.
Maybe I'll find that I have some underground following, and
That's anyway. So funny. Now Hawaii happens to be halfway to Japan, which also happens to be the name of the third song. There's a good tie-in here. So let's listen to Almost Halfway to Japan.
I get the assist on that one. I lost my way on a short drive when 7 colors lit the sky. When the rooster woke, the daytime and rain made the mountains cry. I'm gone, I'm gone, I'm gone, almost halfway to Japan. I'm gone, I'm gone, I'm gone, almost halfway to Japan. Deepest greens were blanketed, jagged cliffs cut fertile land. And ocean waves beckoning, reaching with uncertain hands. I'm gone, I'm gone, I'm gone, almost halfway to Japan. I'm gone, I'm gone, I'm gone, almost halfway to Japan.
this one's an open D tuning.
It is.
You mentioned before when you were recording this that you wrote a bunch of songs in open tunings.
Yeah, I did.
How's that experience different for you?
I feel like I can do a lot of basic chords. That's probably the extent of what I can do on guitar at this stage of my ability to play. So open tuning for me, I don't really have to know the technical side of the neck and understand the chords that much. You just kind of put your fingers in different places and strum and see how it sounds. So not to dumb it down because there's so much more to it, but for me, that's what it does for me. I don't have to think as much, and it's more just about what sounds good. So these songs that I mentioned that I wrote in February, I wasn't taking any songwriting classes or any classes at the Old Town School at that time. I started writing without any structure. And so this one is a little bit more structured, but some of the other ones weren't. But it was really just, when we traveled to Hawaii, I wrote down just little ideas would pop in my head, or, certain scenes would strike me as being really moving and might be fun eventually to sing about it. And so I kind of sat down with the guitar and came up with a little melody, and then kind of looked through all the images that I basically captured on paper and tried to fit some of them together, and the song kind of naturally came together for me.
When inspiration hits like that, do you have a notebook that you carry with you, or do you just write it on any scrap that happens to be around?
I have a notebook, but I find, which is so weird, I often use Notepad on my iPhone, which everyone says, oh, you need to write it down. The act of physically writing, it really kind of gets your creativity going. But for me, I don't know why, for whatever reason, maybe I'm a little too obsessed or connected to my electronic, but most of it's on my Notepad. Another song that I wrote in February is called The Color of the Road, and we were driving to a luau, and there was this man walking on the dusty road against traffic, pretty much in the road but off to the side, and he was all kind of gray. He had gray hair, and he had a gray shirt on, and his khaki shorts were all gray from the dirt. And my husband said, gosh, he looks like he's the color of the road. And I thought, that's a cool line. So I wrote that down, and I wrote it in my notepad, thumbed it down, I should say, on my notepad. And that became a song as well that I wrote in February.
And your husband's a musician too.
He is. Right? He's played guitar a lot longer than me. He's really good, but he'll say no, he's not very good, but he is. Unfortunately, he doesn't have as much time to play, but we try to play together when we can.
You've got a family and a part-time job. There doesn't seem like there'd be a lot of time for extra hobbies in there. You make it work. What would be the best description of how you're able to balance everything?
This doesn't really fit with musician schedules, but I'm such an early riser. I love the mornings, so I'll get up at 5:30, 6, and I usually have an hour and a half before anyone else is up. So a lot of times that's when inspiration will come to me, and I'll write something in the morning. I do have 2 days a week where I'm not working, so I feel like I'm lucky in that I do have some chunks of time during the day when I can do it. And I think just knowing that it's something that is mine, but I do share it with my family. I don't have to tuck it away and, play in private. Interestingly though, I don't like to write when anyone else is around. And when I'm kind of sitting at the guitar noodling and trying to come up with ideas, for me it's a different process, kind of writing versus performing. I don't really have the bandwidth to do both. So I'm either in a mindset of I'm going to just write, and I do a little bit every day, and I feel like that kind of sparks more creativity. And then it's not necessarily trying to write, it's more I get to write, these ideas that come to my head, versus if I have a show coming up and I have to practice existing songs or covers or both, I have to be in, for me, that mindset. And I don't really have the creative side of me going. It's more, let's focus on nailing these songs and getting it down. And maybe that's the only time where I feel like having to juggle everything. From a music standpoint, I'm at a disadvantage because I just don't have time for both.
It sounds like you're very habit-driven. Things sort of have a place and you do them consistently. Is that the case with music? Do you set aside time, or do you write when you're inspired?
I think when I have like a lot of things, there are times where I won't pick up a guitar for a while, or if we're busy with work or kids' activities, I just won't be able to kind of get to music for a while, and then maybe that becomes a habit and I don't touch it for a while. So I have to make time and kind of force myself to sit down and do it again, and then I remember, oh yeah, I love doing this, and then it's just catch as catch can, and I play a little here and there when I can. But for me, I think anything, having a little bit more discipline and setting aside time is a way that I can accomplish more. I mean, it's weird, but for me, I'm happy with a lot of the songs that I wrote in February, and I was kind of on a time crunch, and it's not to take away from songs that, have been crafted over an extended period of time, and they're amazing. But for me, I feel like I always work better when I give myself a limited amount of time. I'm not sure why. You'd think that would kind of restrict creativity, but for whatever reason, I get into a certain mode where maybe I'm more present because I know that I have just a limited amount of time to do this, and so therefore I'm going to give it my all versus multitasking where my mind's in a bunch of different places.
Now, hypothetically, let's say 10, 15 years from now, either of your kids goes into music. Based on your experiences thus far, what advice would you give them?
Maybe just stay true to what your voice is, and find inspiration in others, but don't compromise what you want to say and what your sound is based on what other people are telling you. I'm not a professional musician, but my friends who are, it's a tough life, it's you work really, really hard. And so I feel like you have to, I feel like you have to really love it, and you're doing it because you love it and because you have something you want to say, lyrically and from a sound standpoint, melody, versus doing it because someone tells you this is how you should do it. So just being true to themselves. And, I'd probably say that in any profession, quite frankly. And as long as it's still fun, keep doing it.
Any projects planned for the summer coming up? Any big shows coming up?
Well, I have a couple smaller shows coming up. I mentioned Monday I'm playing kind of locally here at a tiny lounge in the neighborhood. I'm playing, my friend Karen and I were invited back in September to play the Common Pantry, I'm Your Neighbor party, which is a really great benefit for the Common Pantry. I'm playing a farmer's market.
Oh, cool.
I'm playing Sylvie's. So things are coming up, just little shows here and there. I have a website that I just put together. I've worked in IT for years, but I'm not a developer. I'm a project manager. So you'd think I would have done this before, but I haven't. So I'm proud of it. So on my website, I have links to shows that are coming up too.
And what's the website?
HeidiSerwer.com.
Where else can people find you online?
I have a Facebook page, so Heidi Serwer Music, and I'm on Reverb Nation. I'm on Twitter too, but I don't use that often. And I'm kind of learning how to link them all together, but on my website, there's a link to my Facebook page, and I'm also on SoundCloud, so I have this EP that I recorded, as we talked about, but I have so many other songs, just samples that I've messed around with over the years that I put up there too. So those are all links on my website too.
Well, Heidi, thank you so much for inviting me over to record this interview. Anything else you want to add?
Thanks. No, it was such an honor and really fun, and it was great to meet you and talk with you.
Yeah, you as well. That's all the time we have for tonight. Keep writing and keep playing, Chicago.